You look like, yeah.
Can you guys see that on the big screen down there?
Yes, we do.
Yep. Okay, so Farhad, I will let you call all things to order, and then I'll start walking us through this.
Okay. It's 5:01, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. First order of business is approval of 2022 annual meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
Let's do introduction. Well, it's
You wanna-
only us and Dana, so we probably skip introductions.
Oh, you can do introductions.
So then, here are the minutes. I'll follow Farhad's lead on this. So here's the minutes from last year. It's always strange having to remember for a year, but thank you, George, for taking great notes. Everything was pretty self-explanatory. So if you want to make a motion to approve,
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes approved. So you want to go back to the introductions, or?
no, let's just, that's really there with the assumption that we have other people here, but everybody knows who we are, so. Is that Jim Gibbs that I see?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
You are a tiny, tiny, tiny thumbnail. I was just like, wait, that's not somebody who was here a minute ago. Great. Welcome, Jim. Jim knows everybody too, so we can skip introduction. Which takes us to approving the budget.
Yes.
So, our board has approved this to present. It's always sort of abbreviated budget that the voters see, looking at total income. And these are pretty hard figures because Comcast is based on what we actually received last year. Town of Middlebury is an ongoing contribution, that we know what that is. Tech coordinator support similarly is the library funded half of the position. So that's a fixed thing. And then sort of for the first time, we knew about this ahead of time and could budget. We have a short-term funding from the state to all the studios in Vermont while they're working on a longer-term funding bill. So we have received $25,000 for FY23, which is great. Bringing us to a total income anticipated of $188,403, and then expenses are again pretty routine. Payroll is obviously our biggest. We are using a 5% cost of living increase, sort of following the library's lead on that. Operating expenses, maintenance and equipment. Equipment is mainly going to replacing computers and cameras used in the youth programs. So we will be, once the budget's approved, I'll be talking to Glenn to authorize that purchase of computers, and we could be using them as early as next week probably. All things working out smoothly because we can get really quick shipments from our supplier. So any questions on the budget? Board has seen it and knows the sort of behind the scenes pieces of it, but if anyone has any other questions.
Kurt, how much change is there when you buy new computers and iPads and whatever? You know, is it a quantum leap in terms of what they can do, or does it affect how your summer programming? That you can suddenly do things that you couldn't do in the past?
I wouldn't describe it as a quantum leap, but certainly the laptops that we use with kids are dated and can't be used for certain things. So this will both improve our ability to offer programs that we already do, as well as add some new things that the new equipment's capable of. The old stuff just wasn't at all. Like we'll be adding some more advanced animation capabilities, because that's one of our biggest kid programs, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But not quantum, but really good. And usually the routine is, organizations, go for a 3 to 5 year rollover of computer equipment. You don't expect it to last much longer than that.
And is that the current cycle, 3 to 5 years, or?
Generally, that's what, these are older than that.
It's like with anything else, anything electronic, you get a new equipment, it might come with more advanced features we might be able to use, I don't know. But it's needed, that's what.
Yeah. So, barring other questions, we could
Any
have a motion to approve.
Any other questions? No? Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve the budget, adopt the budget.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Now, the next item is election of one at-large board member. I think Len has come forward.
Right, Len is willing to continue to serve. It would be a 3-year position, as all our at-large positions are, barring nominations from the floor.
And it just depends upon how much older I get.
Yeah,
It's
you won't
on-
get any older in the next 3 years. That's
It's
one of
on-
the
it's only-
advantages of this
It's
work.
only 1 year at a time.
Reassurance.
Time hold.
So, anybody wants to
Your
nominate Len?
pension will get older, but you won't.
Who wants to nominate Len?
So Farhad's nominated Len.
No,
Second.
George did.
Oh, second? I'll second.
All in favor? I'm sorry, Farhad, that's you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
A landslide.
A landslide, 100%.
Yay, Len. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So-
Next item is amending the bylaws, which the board has talked about and approved this change to present to the voters. Essentially, it revolves around the fact that several years ago, when ID4 ceased to exist, we changed the bylaws to have an official appointee from the Ilsley trustees, but we didn't clean up some other language because we didn't really recognize it at the time, that our elected members serve a term of 3 years, but appointed members, that's not really how their boards work. They have committee assignments and other things. So the change is basically to say that appointed members will take office following appointment by their respective board and serve a term at the discretion of their board. So that highlighted in blue there is really the essential change. Any questions, Jim? Because you're the only one, or Dana, you're the only one who's out of studio.
Nope.
Jim, no questions?
No. Good.
So, I'm looking for a motion for to adopt the amendment.
I will move.
Okay, I'll give it to Glenn this time. Second?
Second.
I'll second.
Len seconded. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the amendments are done. Any other business?
So that takes us to any other business essential to bring before the annual meeting. If it's something that the board can take up at the next board meeting, I recommend we just do that and not start any discussion, because I've got another 10, 15 minutes maybe of the year in review. But if there is something important to bring up at the annual meeting level, this is the time. All right. So year in review. And this presentation is really tailored to Ilsley and MCTV's collaboration and partnership. I'll get to a few general sorts of things at the very end of this, but I want to kick off our next year of really actively thinking about what we need to consider during the Oakley 100 project, and what can we improve on, what can we take advantage of during this time period, what are some hurdles that we may see, things like that. So this is tailored to the library. So our partnership supports people, places, and programs. People, obviously, many different organizations and individuals take advantage of things. Picture of Renee and Narendra, who did a Diwali cooking thing, and they pre-shot a video of the cooking to then do their presentation. Of course, we support the Digital Media Lab, which I don't have the statistics right in front of me, but I gave Dana some of those for the number of trainings I've conducted. And then we offer many programs, both for kids, mostly for kids programs, but we support adult programs like these. First Wednesdays, we supported both digital, sort of Zoom First Wednesdays, as well as in-person ones over the past year. Most of those we receive permission for, so there's no problem. There are also many other types of talks at the library that we film. The American Association of University Women and the Addison County Retired Teachers Association are just two of the organizations who have regular extended lecture series. Then there are author talks that happen at the library frequently, and then just other talks like the benefits of beavers in your backyard that are more sort of one-off. Could be college related. This one was an assistant professor, but are not necessarily part of a series. I think one of the things we can improve on in covering those is we don't always get permission, and sometimes that's okay. The speaker doesn't want it televised for one reason or another, but we should always be asking, and I think we could tighten up the communication there between me, Renee, and Chris to make sure that's always an ongoing ask. One of the things we've been doing for a long time is supporting the Mary Hogan School Readathon. Last year was the 11th year of doing this, so we've been doing this since I came on board. It's more than just a music video. It's a month-long series of activities around literacy. But these pictures here show all parts of it, from recording the song in Clint's studio across the street to the kids filming during recess. You see them holding books, and there was the ocean theme, hence the pirate ship and the giant crab. Thanks to Tricia and Renee for prop building. And then it culminates in, so we used the music video to launch the month of the readathon, and you can see kids reading, throughout that month. We put together a slideshow of that, and then at the end of the month, they usually have a principal's challenge, so that's the new assistant principal, Mary Hogan, singing It's Raining Tacos, and Jen Kravitz in the background there, doing the Baby Shark song, which luckily my kids were old enough that I never had to go through that, so I have only heard Baby Shark song in the context of the readathon. Dana?
We're not there yet, but I look forward to it.
Yep. Okay. And Tricia is regularly the MC for both the kickoff and the Principal's Challenge. So she and I have worked very closely on the readathon for many years. We also run children's programs at Ilsley. Youth Media Lab has been running, I think, as long as the readathon, because I'm pretty sure I started that when Sarah Lawton was the youth librarian, and we were recognized that year as an innovative program by I can't remember if it was the VALA or the Public Library Association. That was a great recognition. It's a drop-in program, runs every week during the school year. We started a Lego robotics program for 4th grade and up at Ilsley. This is the first year we've been doing it. It's a great group. I was supposed to be doing it today, but I couldn't because of my sickness. But we've got a wonderful group of primarily 4th graders. So they will be learning and building towards the next level, which you'll see in this slide. For several years now, we've run a First Lego League program. Initially, it was in partnership with the Career Center. Then when Devin left his job at the Career Center, I picked up the head coaching responsibility of that, shared it with my wife, moved it to moms, so we do 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. We started that the last year of the pandemic. So we've done it about 4 years, I think 2 years prior to the pandemic, 1 year during the pandemic, and then just this past season, that's 6th through 8th grade. We also I offer Tiger TV at Moms, which is a TV news club. We generally had 6 to 8 kids. We started this year with 26 kids. I split them into 2 groups. We've had some attrition and some kids moving on to other sports and stuff. So starting tomorrow, if I'm well, we'll be merging the 2 groups back into one, and we should have something like 12 to 14 kids at this point. That's a great program. Then we picked up just this past year 2 off-site programs that we started for the first time. The stop motion animation workshops at Platt grew about from 2 things really. One, Dana and I were chatting at field days when Ilsley ran a booth there, and we talked about Ilsley kind of acting as an umbrella for other libraries, and perhaps having staff or resources or time that other smaller libraries didn't have, and that maybe we could share some resources. We were talking specifically about coming together at field days, but also talked a little bit about supporting programs at the libraries. And then Laura, who works at Sarah Partridge and Ilsley and the Platt Memorial Library, asked me about building up a group of kids that she had out at Platt to offer some stop motion, kind of as a not something that we could continue long-term running at Platt, but just set up a model, give some sort of curriculum, give some experience, and then this is one of the things that our new equipment for kids programs will support, using the old equipment as a resource that other libraries can borrow, and I can maybe come out for the first workshop, show them how to use it, then let them borrow it for a few weeks, because I won't need it back here. We'll have other equipment for that. So that has been a great program out at Platt, and some days Platt looks a lot like Ilsley staff. I don't know what it is. Dana can comment more on that. Flex time at Moms. Flex time is study hall time that kids who are not in band or chorus on that particular day have. They put out a call to individuals and organizations to run programs. So this is brand new this spring. Unfortunately, it's been when I had COVID, then we had a snow day, then we had a delayed opening, then now I'm sick again. So it hasn't been as routine as we wanted, but my goal was to do, there are 4 middle school teams that each would have access to it on one day. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday was the plan, so that I would go in and offer this short half-hour time where kids could animate stuff during study hall by sign up. And it gives me a way to continue contact with kids, tease some of the programs that we'll run at Ilsley or elsewhere. This picture here is 2 8th grade girls that coincidentally had taken camps with me years prior, and a newish teacher at Moms. I've always wanted to animate a chess game so it played itself, and she happens to be the advisor of the chess club, so she wanted to do something that she could show to her chess club kids. So we animated sort of some opening moves in chess, one of the early days of that. That was pretty fun.
Kurt, how difficult is it to learn animation? Is this something that kids, it's easy for them, or?
Yeah, it's very easy to jump in. It's how good they get at it is a really blanking on the mathematical term, Jen would proportional to what they put into it. Because it's very simple. You take a picture, you move something a little bit, you take another picture. So they take more pictures and they make smaller movements. It looks smoother. But we've generated between the stop motion camp at Platt and the flex time at Mums and then stuff kids have done in Youth Media Lab. We've got many short animations because it can take a lot of work to make something only last 10 seconds. But it is one of our most popular camps and workshops. So brings us to summer camps. And these are the two that we offered last year. We had Intro to Filmmaking and a Female Filmmakers Camp. This summer, we will be offering an Intro to Filmmaking camp right after school ends, and then an abbreviated stop motion animation camp the week of July 4th. That'll be abbreviated just because the 4th is on a Tuesday. And that'll be it for the camps this summer, because I may have mentioned to somebody, I haven't mentioned to everybody, I'm having a hip replaced in July.
Oh, wow.
So I had my other one replaced 5 or 6 years ago, so I will be half titanium when I come back. But I just wanted to make sure we got the camps taken care of and Festival on the Green taken care of, and then I've got a little time to recover after that before launching into anything else new. But those camps
Are those camps, when do they registration open for those camps?
They haven't opened yet. The deadline for the rec department guide, which is where they first get listed, is coming up. So that'll all be happening.
So that'll be through the rec,
No, it's through Ilsley, but it's advertised through the rec guide, along with a lot of other summer stuff.
Okay.
Also, last summer, this is not like an official Ilsley thing, but we've had camps that have tied into it. We've had Tricia as her family, we've had other library families. We're now in the, I think, 4th year of Crowdsourced Cinema Vermont. We are in the 9th year of the project in total. Last summer was Star Wars, where Ilsley's contribution to it was we had our stop motion animation camp was focused entirely on one scene, replicating it in stop motion. I don't have the video here to show it to you, but awesome work was done, and that Lego animated scene of Star Wars was debuted in the full-length remake that premiered up at the Media Factory in Burlington last fall. And I can announce now that the crowdsourced cinema for this summer is Toy Story, which is kind of interesting because in past years it's always been a live-action movie, which people are free to recreate their scene in anything from live-action to puppetry to animation to silent film era-looking stuff. So it'll be strange to take an animated film and remake that in live-action and all the other ways that groups do. So I just heard that announced yesterday, so I'm glad I can share that here today. So that is sort of the Ilsley specific review of the last year and teasers of this summer. Here's the more general stuff about our work over the last year. Our top videos for the past 365 days. YouTube gives us great statistics on stuff. We have absolutely no statistics on cable broadcast, what people watch, things like that. But I'll just go through this kind of broadly speaking. The top one was shown in the museum program with 6,000 some views, which shows that sort of what I consider to be niche topics that local organizations in the library feature can have really significant audiences outside our area. It's nice to see that school board meetings were showing up in that top 10 list. I'm a little curious about those numbers. I don't really believe that there are 4,000 or 5,000 people watching. We had one video that had some kind of 11,000 views in the past, and I think it was just on autoplay on somebody's computer. Our Festival on the Green coverage also gets widely viewed outside of the area. You can also see here, people, this is an average view. If people are not watching necessarily the whole thing of the concert, but we're able to offer the whole concert. But people watch Festival on the Green pretty extensively. First Wednesdays, I guess, good viewing outside of us. The picture here is one of our volunteers filming at Festival on the Green. Sort of comparing last month to last year, and again, this is YouTube stats, not our channel on TV, but we've got 7,600 views in the last month, which is pretty awesome, and 89,000 plus views in the last year. Both of those are increases over the year before. Some things you can look at here is like, the views and the amount of time. So the views have increased, the watch time has increased. We picked up a little more subscribers. And just to note here that subscribers refers to YouTube subscribers, not Comcast subscribers. And we can see we picked up 224 YouTube subscribers in the last year. We are over 1,000 right now, which is pretty cool. And only a few of them are my son and his friends. They all subscribed and they periodically leave comments on our videos. Some other sort of data here, the top videos of the last 28 days. I think really important to notice how many of the ACSD board candidates, those videos show up in that top 10. We got a lot of pats on the back, both at the school board level. I heard it mentioned in the newspaper, and I've heard several comments come back to me about what a wonderful job the kids did in interviewing those candidates. I think it really helped to hear them and not just read and learn about them in the paper. So shout out to Nargis Ansali and Eddie Fallis, who are the student representatives of the school board who helped make that happen, and to Tricia, whose idea it was to ask them to be the interviewers, and Tricia rode that success to her own place on the school board. You can see how many of those showed up in the top 10 views of top 10 videos of last month. This is just a smaller video of the same last year, so these are videos we've already talked about. Videos that people watch, that's another thing that YouTube tracks, is how many people are watching after 30 seconds. It's not really a high bar, but here are some things that people are watching. And I don't think most people watch a full school board meeting on YouTube, but it makes it really easy to jump to parts that you want. If we ever do move to embedding advertising in our YouTube videos, we wanted to do it in the first 30 seconds. Here's some things that at the bottom of that list are sort of lower retention for people viewing, watching the full play of Romeo and Juliet, but still half of them will watch, it's just lower than average. 40 poems for 40 pounds. It was the first thing that came out of our working together with Town Hall Theater. We helped them apply for a grant for equipment for live streaming. So Jim was in the house for that night and recorded that play. It was written locally, directed locally, and performed locally. They've got a great setup over in Town Hall Theater that we helped put together. There's actually some references to it in last week's Independent. Then some other takeaways. I don't really want to, put too much stock in this, but just so you can see that on YouTube, majority of the audience is male. Vast majority is under 45. That sort of complements, I think, our TV audience, which tends to skew older. There was a little confusion about this info last year. Watch time from subscribers. Remember, this is YouTube subscribers, not Comcast subscribers. So most of our YouTube viewers are not YouTube subscribers. Part of that is things like Festival on the Green, that's watched by people all over the world. So we can hopefully increase this number of people who subscribe to us on YouTube over time. It is increased a bit from the year before. And then in terms of our top performing videos in watch time, town meeting, very important. Shows the importance of that. A couple of the school board candidates. Our bottom performing videos are not problematic because they're understandable. 4 of these 5 are Hanford Career Center pre-tech video programs, which are really only intended for a small audience. So it's not a great surprise that they don't get heavy viewing. That's really guidance counselors showing that to students watching them to learn about the Career Center. But that's a project that we've run for 2 years now. Not in a row. We did, at the beginning of the pandemic, we realized that the Career Center would not be able to have an open house. So we jumped on that and helped them make videos for 17 programs at the Career Center so that kids could watch and learn about the program and not have to come to an open house. And that's my segue to the discussion for you guys. I'm going to duck out because I need to head home, hydrate, and get to bed. But if there are questions that you guys have for me about the last year that you want to ask now, especially our visitors, then I will we'll stop sharing here. If you guys have questions for me, and if not, I will bid you adieu and
Kurt, I have a question. It used to be we were concerned that if we did programs using Comcast money, that they would be upset. And you seem to be saying a lot of our viewers are going through YouTube now. Would Comcast, I think, is that anything that would be an irritant to them?
No, that's a long ago argument. Yeah. We're so far past that, it's way beyond.
Okay.
The question there becomes sort of how can we take advantage of those viewers that are not paying directly? And there are some things happening at the state level, which is why, like I mentioned during the budget piece, we've got some temporary state funding as they look at ways to bring those streaming audiences into supporting the things that they're taking advantage of. Somebody brought up the example of they drive an EV now, they've dropped their landline, and they don't have TV anymore. So they're no longer paying for the public benefits of public access TV, gasoline taxes, or E911. So all of those things like that, the tax structure has to modernize to react to how, and where people are, in our case, watching media.
One of the things that we've talked about this past year has been this whole question of how do we promote what is present on our television? What is it that we create, and how do we tell people that? And so that's an issue I think that fits into all of our tasks, and that is how does the life that we live and the time we give to each other and give to these causes, how does that get shared so people realize that this is a healthy place, healthy community, and lively? So promotion is a real question for a station like ours.
Well, there's going to be a great opportunity over the next 2 years to promote MCT as a centerpiece of the library, right? And I mean, this is why I'm here today. To learn about MCTV's needs and expected roles, as we work through the renovation and expansion of the library. So with the, the community is going to be very engaged in discussion about the future of Wellesley Library over the next, I would say, year or two. And it's a great opportunity to promote MCTV during that discussion.
Yeah, and I partly did that presentation I just gave you guys. Now it's created, and I can give it to the LC trustees, I can give it to the 100 Project team, select board, down the road. I'm also going to be creating a similar one for ACSD to showcase the services that we really provide them.
Yeah,
I'll
Kurt,
talk to Barb about that more later.
I just want to say thank you for that presentation and all your hard work over the past year. And acknowledge at the annual meeting how much the library values our partnership with MCTV, because it's really inspiring and exciting to see a whole year's worth of MCTV contributions sort of all lined up and really realize how much MCTV helps us achieve our mission at the library. So thank you for that presentation and for all the great work this past year.
Well, you're welcome. When I was offered the director position, because I had sort of seen the potential for it, working in my earlier years, I said, what is the one thing that would prevent me from accepting that job if they took away the cool things I can do with the library? That would.
There you go.
But it didn't happen, so here I am.
Yeah, it's a special partnership that our organizations have.
And this is acknowledged by other groups in television, by the VAN organization. Something very special is happening here, has been happening, and so there's affirmation from people who are also trying to figure out how to create this combination of media and presence and participation. So.
Yeah, nobody our size has the outreach and education programs that we do, and really it's the collaboration with ILSI that makes that possible. Which also leverages programs we can offer ACSD. It gets Tricia in schools, it gets Catherine in schools, it gets me in schools. An important role out the library, it has an important role outside the library.
Meg, you have something you want to say?
Oh, I was just, I was going to add that I don't know if this is a question or a comment, but I am excited to see, I know that the library renovation plans are still in the beginning phases, but I'm excited to see how MCTV fits into that, and I'm hopeful that there will be some cool spaces for all of the awesome educational stuff that you do, Kurt, to take place in the library, because I think it's a real opportunity for it to be a place of, the library already is a place of creativity, but it would be very cool to have spaces to do animation and movies and all that cool stuff that you do.
On the other hand, there's when we consider it, the things that we want to talk about and present of what's happening now and what could happen. We also, there's a side of, Dick used to use the word aggregate. Part of our task is to aggregate, to collect, to help and build forth. And so there's that whole system, questions of how do we continue to collect our story? How do we build upon this story? How do we help people become informed in the history and the background? And so that's the other side of the picture, I think.
I will take this opportunity to thank you guys all for coming. I'm going to head home, take some medicine, go to bed, and hopefully get better. This has been,
I hope you feel
20
better.
weeks ago, and feeling, we're everything getting better, and we're like, whoa, now we're all getting level again.
Hope you feel better.
Rest up, Kurt.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
All right, yeah, feel good.
Thanks, and we'll see you later.
Yep.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Do we have any other business? If nothing, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I will move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Laura. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
And conversation, so I think that's, and you said some earlier about the possibilities for the future.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of an obvious thing that the library is going to be, as the project downtown was for its period, the library is going to move front and center now as the community debates. Once we enter the design phase, the community is going to debate and discuss what they want in their library and finalize that decision and then figure out how to pay for it. So there's going to be a lot of coverage in the Independent and discussions around town, select board meetings and so forth, public meetings that will bring community attention to its library. And I think that, you know, MCTV is kind of an instrumental part of that library. And so there'll be plenty of opportunity to get more visibility for what you're doing there. And I guess I would add too what your needs are. I mean, that's all part of the design process, right? Is to try to ensure that MCTV, you know, is able to flex its elbows a little bit from that cramped space upstairs, and have a more appropriate space to operate from for all these programs that it offers. Right? So there's different levels of involvement here.
Are there any lessons from the coverage of the tunnel, things that wish we'd done differently, or other kinds of coverage, or? Because didn't you, I mean, you were constantly being interviewed, as I recall.
Yeah. I don't know. Will we apply to this? You know, keep moving forward. You know, I think is the idea. I mean, there were a lot of headwinds early in that project, right, Farhad? And you know, a lot of people who were convinced that it was not going to result in anything good for the town of Middlebury, right? And I think we're going to run into that with the library too, no matter what we propose. We saw that with the long debate over Twilight Hall. No, not Twilight Hall. The old high school and this new town office, right? It just had to play itself out. And, you know, I think there's probably less likely to have that kind of divided debate over the library, but there's going to be differences of opinion. And you have to, you know, respect those differences of opinion, but kind of, you know, believe in your vision and move forward with it.
One thing that we did that I don't know has been shared, when there was all the conflict about the two buildings, whether come up, come down, come up, you know, stay up. One of the things that we did was we had shot film with children at one point, and adults talking about buildings and how the buildings were used and so forth. And Glenn Andres we invited Glenn to do a piece, and Glenn loves to produce things with quality and content, so it's a 43-minute piece on those two buildings. And all of that's in the file someplace, in case at some time in the future someone wanted to create films or stories related to those two particular events. I don't know where that is.
I'm sure Kurt could rustle
Yeah.
it up. Yeah, I'll ask him.
So that was a good thing.
I bet many people in the community aren't aware of everything that MCTV does. I bet some people aren't even aware that there's a YouTube channel, you know, because they're used to that, trying to find it on Comcast somewhere, and that grainy, you know, video and poor audio. But they don't know that you can go on YouTube and get high quality stuff, you know, so I think that would be an important part, just to get the
And
message.
even in the Ilford building, it's very obscure somewhere on the top
Yeah.
floor.
Yeah,
Almost no one knows
Yeah.
yeah, I was just
that
thinking.
they exist, you know.
That was a really good part. I was just thinking, Farhad, you know, I saw you guys, I should have known this earlier, but you have a digital readout type of thing
Oh,
mounted
yeah.
on the wall, right? So wouldn't it be
Right.
cool to have like an MCTV screen mounted somewhere in the library?
Mm-hmm.
You know, with just videos playing on it, soundlessly, but just, you know, you're reinforcing
Mm-hmm.
that there are things going on, you know, within MCTV. When you walk into buildings at the college, for example, there are video screens everywhere. There are often video screens that are showing events on campus and stuff like that, so.
We've talked about that many times, about having, you know, screens not only in the library, but one here, the town hall, and maybe in a bank or two, or other places. And if Kurt were here, I think he could talk about, you know, here were some of the hurdles that we encountered. It seems so easy to do, just put it here and let it run.
If you had like a 10-minute clip that just kind of wound around, right, Jim? Like where it was like MCTV highlights, sort of like this. Did you know? Just kept flipping around.
There is a monitor, I think, somewhere in the building.
There
Yeah,
is, it's by
there is.
the staircase, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, we could start having more programming for that.
One thing that we've also talked about is, you know, kind of the person on the street,
Mm-hmm.
where it's finding an event where the large number of people are available and a specific question,
Mm-hmm.
and the television camera and interviewer, and just collect a lot of this, people's feelings and their viewpoints.
Yeah.
And this would be a fun thing to do, but it would also be very informative.
Yeah, Kurt tried to do that when we set up at the downtown, I can't remember what it was called, block party.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
to some level of success. People were a little reticent to be interviewed, but
It probably would have gone, if we hadn't gone through a pandemic, it probably
Maybe.
would have been one of our great catch-hold ideas. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But the pandemic, we did, when we were kind of looking for stories for the summer. And the summer before that we were going to start with all the construction, when we asked, grab your group of people and had some pizza, and asked what should be the concern, and the concern immediately was back in the day. And that's where that whole piece, within about 15 minutes, this group was so settled on that as an idea, and that they were able to grab a hold of that. If you remember, we had about 10 or 12 people telling stories, and I always hoped that made a good feeling and eased some of the tension. I don't know if that
It was great down. Yeah. That was one of the things that V-Trans funded, was that space on Main Street, and that was one of the uses. You know, and Hudson, Tilford, and others got up there and talked about, you know, what town used to be like. You know, that was cool. I think.
The other little piece that was created had to do with, not because anybody asked about it, but because a couple of the storytellers wanted to tell the stories, having to do with the period of time when, what was Planapalooza? Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a piece there available. Has Dick Thodel telling stories about Bakery Lane. As David's last name?
Weinstock?
Yeah, just wrote
Munford?
the book. Yeah.
Munford.
Yeah, Munford. And he was talking about Mill Street. And there's another piece, and Mrs. Andrews, I can't remember her name, but she talked about Little Shannon. So,
Oh yeah.
so I think there's from our perspective, people who are interested in creating the world to be visual, those are some of the things that we'd like to see to, continue to do more.
I think from a very practical perspective, the community's going to be asked to invest several $1 million in the library, right? And so you want to put the value proposition out there and say, here's all the things that Ilsley delivers. And I think that MCTV is a great bonus that comes along with the library, right? And we need, and it doesn't get talked about as much as maybe it should have as the library's partner. And so the investment that the community is going to make is not only in its library, but in its public TV is not even the right way to think about it, is it? It's community television.
Community media.
And
really.
And even that doesn't really connect with people to what it means. But the service that MCTV provides, to be able to go to any select board meeting after the fact and say, what was it they talked about here? And we could go on and on about all the things that MCTV does. But to me, that's going to be an important part of the value proposition of why we're going to ask the community to spend several $1 million, is because this is an important service that MCTV provides and provides very well to the community.
One of the things that we are always looking for are people who would like to interview. To be interviewed, but we're looking for people who would like to interview, who would like to create a program. And you think back, MCTV in Middlebury's had really great people like Betty Neoval and Betty Moffett and police officer.
Chris Mason.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a kick.
So we're always on the lookout for more people who might be interested in doing some interviewing themselves.
Sure.
And we could work that around the adult projects.
Well, maybe that becomes part of you guys need a visibility campaign, right? And that could be integrated in with the kind of the Ilsley campaign here, to remind folks, if we came up with some clever tagline or something, but to remind folks about how important MCTV is.
Yeah, and it strikes me how much more effective videos can be in grabbing people's attention. We have been posting so much information on the project team in the form of minutes and written presentations, and we've been presenting to the select board, but we recently saw a video submission from one of the architectural firms, and it was just very impressive and captivating, and really added something to their
The video.
yeah. And so it just made me
Right?
Fell in love with it,
it really made me realize this would be a great way to get our story out. So I can definitely see a role for MCTV, maybe at various stages of the process, interviewing project team members or architectural candidates, or even just filming models of the building, just getting the information into that media and then posting it on YouTube or Instagram or something like that would really help amplify our story. And I think, as Jim has been saying, there's an opportunity for you guys to to position yourself as that connecting force in the community, that bridge between people and whatever's going on that they can't get to, whatever meeting they can't make or whatever program they weren't able to attend in person. MCTV is what bridges that gap, I think.
I think channel CBS.
Channel 3.
Yeah, it's done an incredible job with young people. You look at, I love to watch the development of the young people who are working on the field. I also like to see the older people like myself as well. But I just see that whole process. So naming and helping to name and find and engage people who are willing, who are good at interviewing and who have that kind of basic at heart for what's going on here, and letting those of us who are on MCTV work with you and with others to build a team like that, the team of young people that they have.
Yeah.
Just to
Yeah.
make, yeah. When they first go on, I say, who dresses those people? Come on. You know,
Why, because they're hipsters?
what?
Why, because they dress really well or poorly or what?
Yeah. Well, but it's been improving all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Hey, Jim, do you guys experiment with reels? I mean, do you have an Instagram account and put out like, you know, the 30-second to a minute clips that are so popular now?
I'm not sure if we have
I don't
a
think so.
Instagram for MCTV. I know Kurt does a lot of the social media stuff
Yeah.
between us and the library, but that would be worth exploring too.
I was
Because
thinking about, you know,
Yeah.
we want to reach a younger audience, right?
Mhm.
And not that, I mean,
well, I know some of our producers will do that. First person who comes to mind was Esther.
oh, okay.
She would always
Yeah,
do
yeah.
a quick, oh hey, I'm here with, you know, whoever guest she had on
Yeah,
for Instagram. So
yeah, they're kind of addictive and they're everywhere, right? So that.
Maybe we can connect Amy with Kurt, because she's very good with social media, right?
Yeah, but I think that's a way to help get the message out to, that's not a weighty half-hour YouTube thing, you know, it's 30 seconds pulled from some
Yeah.
MCTV filmed event, right?
Yeah.
well, and Kurt addressed that too. Like if you have advertising or anything, you got to do it in 30 seconds.
The
So-
other thing is to be looking for people who can tell the story. When you're, I mean, when you're working on the library and all the developments, who really tells? I remember reading a Little Red Riding Hood that was done at noontime one day. It was incredible, just remarkable.
Well, Dana here tells a good story, and she's a great advocate for the library, and there's a committee full, Farhad and I are on the OSLI 100 committee. Every one of those people is capable of telling a good story and representing the work that we're doing.
Well, I was going to hold you up as the example of someone that can tell a positive narrative in a really compelling way.
Yes,
So,
he can.
yeah, absolutely.
No, my time has come and gone, you know.
So we have two producers in the space of 5 minutes. Well, we're going to do programs.
Here's the thing, I think, this group has been together for over a year now. We can see the field. We know I think we have a sense of where we're going and what's coming.
Of course.
And so I guess part of my message to you is this is going to be exciting. There's going to be a lot of focus. And so, to the extent that we can work together to make the case to the community in an exciting way,
Yeah.
break new ground.
Yeah.
If we're breaking new ground with the technology, people are going to go, yeah, that's worth.
The more we can talk about this and talk to each other about how would this best be presented, how would this work well. I have to say I've watched, read everything as it's been brought forth, but I don't have the sense of what's it like in your inners, the core of the 100 and so forth. And a lot of that's very important. And,
So that personal element has been missing
Right.
from our narrative. Okay.
So that we end up talking to each other, and if we talk about it, we'll talk our way through it, and find something that that would really, like I like this idea of the movement. I don't know what, I'm not pushing anything, but it just appeals to me to kind of take people on a journey as we go on a journey. So that
Yeah.
they know where the trail is. And they have some sense of where the trail's gonna go.
And Jim, you had,
The common people. I'm sorry, I get talking.
Yeah.
that's all right. Yeah, for the bridge project, you had done a story of the history of the bridge and stuff
Sure.
for the past 100 years. I think that's a good opportunity about the library. It's 100 years, right? And if we can have a program that this is what it looked like at that time, and this is what happened in those years, and
Well,
The history is important. I would also say, you know, the story was really the story of the project as it happened.
right.
You know, and that was the story that we created, and it really
I'm
captivated.
talking about the timeline of the library. It's more like,
so we are coming up on the 100th anniversary, and the trustees have formed a subcommittee to focus on sharing that exciting news and planning a year's worth of events to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the library building. So I'll make sure Kurt and the MCTV board know when we're meeting and how, so you
we
guys
can
can be a
film,
part
yeah.
of planning and participating in some of those events and that years-long celebration. And that would be a great opportunity to
Yeah.
we're definitely planning on having some sort of timeline, old pictures,
yeah,
history talks, things like that.
When is the 100th? Is it 24?
It's September 2024. And so what we're planning on doing is kicking off a year's worth of celebrations this coming September 2023. And that'll carry us through to next fall.
Yeah, that'd be good. Is MCTV definitely going to remain up on the third floor? I mean, how much flexibility is there in terms of its location?
You mean in the new building? I think there's a huge amount of flexibility. So when we were doing the preliminary program study, we met with MCTV and we talked about space needs and what the future might look like and how your spaces might be configured. And they could be anywhere.
Okay.
They do not need to be in the third floor. That'll be an exciting
That
part of the
was-
design process to see
Yeah.
where could these things fit.
that was only in option A, that we were gonna create a second egress for them.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
And
Yeah,
also-
if we don't end up expanding, then I don't know there's still a chance they could move, but presumably they'd be staying in the third floor.
Yeah, because I think
Because there's
that's-
nothing else we can really stick up there.
No, because I think that's exciting to think about MCTV more integrated into the flow of the library, at least some of it.
It's a selling point of the
Right.
project, for sure.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the technology, have the technology out there. And I know you've got that tech room up in the Vermont room area, but it's kind of like hidden away and so forth, if technology was more visible, it might attract more people, right? So that's another way that the NCTV, board needs to be involved in this project is, and I'm sure Kurt already is.
Some of the early, we moved to town, some of the early storytelling was when the town hall theater gathered and some of the elders of this community were interviewed by Doug. That was really very good stuff that was created from that. So the more we talk and see things visually and where the people are connected, that's all encouraging. So it makes me feel good.
Do you think that Sheldon people would want to be involved in some fashion in terms of history? Because
Yeah.
it's such an archive. And certainly someone like Janet Elvers, I don't know how much time she has now. But I mean, as far as a repository of things happening in Vermont, in terms of, here's how libraries developed, here's how Millsley fits in that
Yeah, that's a great
tradition
idea.
of community libraries. And she would be a wonderful person to bring into the project.
They were a great resource for me when I was researching the history of our bridges and our downtown area, Joanne Langrock and, and others. There's a great archive there. Yeah, they're going through a little bit of a turmoil right now, right? But they're a kind of a foundational organization downtown, right across the street, right? So.
And they've partnered with us a lot in the past, so I would imagine that, yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the process for the next steps that I hear is activities in September.
So as far as that's the next step for celebrating the 100th anniversary of the library building. But for the project, the ILSU 100 project itself, the next step is selecting 4 firms to participate in a design competition, which will take place over the summer. And these 4 firms will develop a conceptual design, so sort of pitch their idea for how they would handle the project if they were selected as the architect. And then there'll be an opportunity for the community to evaluate and weigh in on those competing conceptual designs, and I'm sure there'll be an opportunity for MCTV to help us get that information out there in a compelling way. And then based on the outcome of that design competition, hopefully in the end of summer, early fall, we'll be selecting an architect and retaining their services to develop schematic designs. The idea being that the schematic designs would allow us to either, or to both, work with private donors and do some private fundraising, and also would prepare us for a bond vote if and when we get to that point. So fundraising could begin as early as late fall, early winter.
And how specific will their marching orders be? You know, we want you to do X, Y, Z, or
So
it's wide open? Or
we haven't hammered that out yet. We're working on that over the next few weeks, but big picture, we're telling them they have to stay on this site. We're going to give them a site survey. We're telling them how many square feet we want to add to the building. We've given them a list of the spaces that we would like to see included, and information on adjacencies and potential layout ideas for those spaces. And that's really it. And then we're saying, show us what you would do. How would you envision this playing out? They could choose to tear down the 2 additions in their proposal, or they could choose to leave them up. We sort of planted the seed of, is there a way to have the library and this municipal building speak to each other more eloquently than they do right now, however an architect would interpret that. But I think that's about as specific as it's going to be. I think we're going to try and give them a lot of wiggle room to be creative, and hopefully we get back some really different ideas that have some real contrast.
If you guys saw the 6 proposals that we got in on Monday, you'd be excited about this process. You know, it's been, for most of this past year, it's been 6 or 7 of us sitting in a room thinking about it, and now it's starting to blossom into, wow, these are top people with really good ideas, even though we're at the very starting point here. So yeah. So go ahead. I didn't have anything else to say. I was just saying, so it's going to be exciting.
It is going to be exciting, and I feel like we're moving forward really well in the design aspect of it. We're moving forward well in the community engagement aspect, and we've just brainstormed some great ideas with you guys about how to build on that work. And now we really need to pivot and focus on the funding aspect. And I think that's a big question mark, is what is the time frame for this project? And we just don't know. You know, it could be several years, or if everything goes really well, we could be breaking ground in less than 2 years or something like that. And the reason why I bring that up, even though that's like a best case scenario, is that we will need to move out of this building. And I don't know if you guys have started talking as a board about what that might look like for you.
We have, yeah,
But,
we have
okay.
brought it up that's about it.
Yeah.
Okay, because I just want to be, I guess, upfront about the fact that I don't know if we'll be able to have space for MCTV in our interim location.
Yeah, I
It's
think,
just such a big question mark, what we'll be able to find and how much space will be available, that at this point, I guess I would advise the MCTV board to be thinking about what does the transition location look like for us?
yeah. I think we are aware of that.
Okay,
We
good.
have talked about that,
Okay.
so.